Well, I think I missed the open. We're just
Here we
dynamically live. Here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, he's Vince DeDario. I'm Sean Stiers. We came in hot. I forgot to. I got in a little bit of a hurry. I forgot to hit the old countdown up there, but I don't think people really care if there was a countdown or not. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
That was weird.
Yes, it was. I usually, you take those 30 seconds to kind of, get into the
Right.
groove,
Get the beat
get into
going,
the mindset. And yeah, it's, hey, here we are. It's all good. Let's roll. It's Friday, man. You never know what's going to happen on a Friday.
I know. A lot to talk about today. We'll talk about Notre Dame women's basketball. You're right, Justin. No intro music. That's my bad. Again, failed to hit a button, and that's what happens. So I did want to throw out a little reminder because I saw some people talking about this in the Champions Lounge. Not everyone has heard, and we're probably going to have to say it a few more times. But spring practice starts for Notre Dame March 18th. That is the start date, in case you had not heard that date yet. So I just, again, kind of wanted to throw that out there at the start of the show, so you didn't there it is, March 18th.
It's going to be here before you know it. It was at 3 weeks, basically, a little less than.
Yep.
So, and we've talked about this before, but it's going to be a very condensed spring. Like, it's not going to be as spread out as it normally is. Like, normally we've had a spring practice already because they were kind of doing that thing where they would have one practice before spring break. Most colleges are on spring break next week, like first week of March. I guess I don't really know when Notre Dame's is. I assume it's next week. But they'd have one before spring break, then you'd have all of spring break, and then they'd come back and do like basically 2 practices a week, more or less, and it would be nice and spread out. That will definitely not be the case because they are going to do the entire spring from March 18th to April 12th. So 15 practices in that amount of time. So
no fuss, no muss. That's right.
Yep.
Get it done.
It's going to be quick.
I did also want to revisit. You and Jesse were talking about and the potential IB combine, like doing events from the combine. And Jesse, if he's only doing 75-pound dumbbells, he needs to step up the game because know how much bigger than me he is. I'm throwing up 85-pound dumbbells myself. So
there it is.
Come on.
I was kind of disappointed in that.
I know. I know he's just kind of getting back into the gym thing.
It doesn't matter.
He's got to up that game.
He's got the big upper body. Like, he should be able to pump out something. Yeah, I was a little disappointed in that number. Look, I've never had a very strong upper body. I knew there was no way I'm putting up 225.
I heard you saying that, but I've also seen you run the 40, and like you could probably beat me in a 40 now because my hamstrings are shot. Like the last time we tried to play baseball, how that went. So, and that's been a while. So I can't imagine they're any better. Now, I used to think I was fast when I was young, but it turned out like I was good, like in the short burst, kind of like off the line, that kind of thing. So I was good for probably the first 15 yards, but then short legs after that.
I hear you.
It felt quick, but I was I was a decent base stealer, playing baseball and stuff like that. Again, it's like shorter distances and everything. I feel like my strength would be like if we did some kind of obstacle course, like that's where I think I would have a better chance. Because like I used to be good, like back in the wrestling days and like in the Army, we had to do a rope that was even twice as high as like what we did in the wrestling room. But like, I feel like, because I heard Jesse talking about the pull-ups, I think that's the first thing to go. Like once you get out of, like lifting and things like that, in high school and doing those different things, like the ability to pull yourself up is what goes. Of course, as you add pounds, it gets harder to pull yourself up as well.
Not wrong there either. Yeah, there's not much I could compete with. I'm taking the competition into consideration here.
I got you.
Because if you're talking about the people that are primarily on IB, right? There's 5 of us, 2 of which have not hit that magic number of 30.
It's true.
That's a lot of youth there. So whether Jesse's not putting up the big weight, he still is in his 20s. Like his age starts with a 2. So that's
what if we did you ever do punt, pass, and kick when you were a kid?
No, I never did.
They never had that around here?
No.
Or did you just never do it?
I just never did it. It wasn't
I did a couple, like I never had a good arm. So like I could punt and I could kick fairly well, but I just never had the arm to get anything on it. Pat McAfee, I saw this the other day. They were talking about it. He won his national age group competition.
Really?
He was like 13 or something like that. 13, 14 years old. National punt, pass, and kick. So
that's impressive.
Yeah.
You know, you got the famous Andy Reid video where he looks like he's everybody's father out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is hilarious. I mean, I checked the birth certificate on that kid. You know what I mean?
I know,
like that.
Right?
Yeah, that was
Could you imagine
amazing.
seeing him walking up like everybody else is this tall and he's
I mean, that is something else. But yeah, I used to be fast when I was younger. I have not attempted to get up to speed in quite some time. So I would be curious to see what that would look like at this point. I would be wrecked for days after that. No doubt about it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, a combine style. The problem is we got people all over the country too. So like getting everybody in the same room would be difficult if that's something that we ever wanted to do. So
that's true.
You know,
I mean, let's face it, we're keyboard warriors. So I don't,
doubt.
I don't know that. Yeah.
No doubt about it. I like to think I could win a few things, but then there's other things I know I would lose badly. So like I would actually like to do like a trap bar deadlift competition. I think that would be fun.
Trap bar deadlift?
Yeah, so you could just lift the most just grunt brute strength.
I'd be in on that. On that.
To get it off the ground. See what happens.
Yeah.
So
throw your back out.
Yeah, 100%.
Be in 100%. Traction forever.
I had to do it the other day. My son forced me into the weight room and made me do it. And the strength and conditioning coach was actually pretty funny. He's like, he was in there and he goes, okay, before you do this, he goes, I'm leaving. So there's no liability here after you hurt yourself. So It was pretty funny, but I have video proof. I got up a decent number for myself. I was proud of myself. So, but other than that, I feel like I could do decent running, but any kind of like reps for benching, I'm out. Like I would get smoked.
Yeah, like I said, punt, pass, and kick. We'll just do a punt, pass, and kick competition.
I think that'd be
the
fun.
way to go.
I got an in-house coach. Let's go.
Yeah. We don't have to use like a real football. We could just use like a lighter football, so none of us throw our arms out or anything.
Like a junior size.
Yeah.
A Nerf ball.
All right, let's get into some topics. We got a ton of them today. NFL Combine, of course, and that's kind of what spurred that conversation with you guys yesterday. The Combine. Riley Leonard says he's not going to test at the NFL Combine, but he will throw. Good move or bad move for Riley Leonard?
I was fascinated when I saw this, and initially I was like, why would you not do that, right? Like that was my initial thought. Do everything, be a willing participant in everything. But then I sat back and I thought to myself, if anybody's serious about Riley Leonard and bringing them into their program, they know what he can do in every other genre. They know he can run the ball. They know he can do some agility stuff. They know he can leap. They know he can do all of these things because he has displayed that time and time again on the football field in games. The biggest question mark is the throwing, right? And I think that is what these coaches and these GMs and these executives, that's what they need to see him do. And the fact that he's actually willing to do that, I think is even more surprising to me and more telling about the fact of how confident he is that he can get that done. And so I actually think it's a good move. At the end of the day, I think it's a good move. This is what they came to see. They came to see him throw the ball. They didn't come to see him run around. They know he can run around. So I think it's a good move.
That's true. I mean, they've got a lot of film. I mean, but what happens at the Combine is you run a good 40 time and all of a sudden, like specific to the 40, like vertical jumps are nice and long, broad jump, whatever they call it. That's all, well and good, but you run a good 40 time and that can always, sort of stick in people's minds. I completely agree with what you're saying. Like the fact that he is throwing, I think is is nothing but a good thing. But I just
Mhm.
and they do have film of him. They can see the fact that he can run and all that different kind of stuff. I don't know if maybe, maybe he doesn't test well. Maybe he's not a freaky enough athlete to feel confident that he could do all those things well. I just thought that at the very least he would run the 40 because that really seems like, that's an area where he can leave a lasting impression with someone, because obviously a big part of his game is more in line with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen than it is, even Patrick Mahomes or the Matt Staffords of the world or whoever. He's obviously a dual threat type guy. So I thought that at the very least he might want to run the 40 and see if he can kind of, flash that highlight out there for people.
Yeah, I could see that. I bet you he runs the 40 at the pro day. You know what I mean? He's going to want to get that number.
But that
on
never
paper,
matters as much as what
really?
happens at the combine. Oh yeah, matters way more because
so you know more about it than I do.
Like look at Audric Estime. He ran a better 40 time, at the pro day, but the one that people take, put the most stock in is what happens down there at the combine. I would like to have known, Justin, what his 40 time might be. I have no idea, but I mean, we know the guy is fast and he's got those long strides. Like, do you think he could have been 4.5 or better, Vince?
That's a stretch, I think.
You think?
I think he's football fast. I don't know that he's stopwatch fast. And that's probably why he's not going to run it.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think maybe if I was to guess, I would say that's why he's not running it, because I think he is deceivingly fast on the football field, right? We've seen that multiple times. He beats guys to the corner. He outruns guys, that kind of stuff. So he's football fast. I don't think anybody can deny that. You can throw the film in and you can see that he's football fast. I don't know that he's stopwatch fast. Like maybe he doesn't have a quick, like a good, first 10 yards. You know what I mean? Like maybe
because again, I'm sure that he's done that. So he knows kind of what his ballpark is. So maybe that's why he's decided that he doesn't want to do it, because again, put in the game film and you'll see what I can do on the running the football.
Yeah,
maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank. It's blank that former Irish cornerback Benjamin Morrison announced he won't work out at either the combine or at Notre Dame's pro day, but instead he's going to have his own pre-draft private showcase.
Tells me he's not ready. Like he's not physically ready. And if he did at either one of those things, that it would not put his best foot forward. It's a shame because I wanted to see kind of what he could do, and maybe we will eventually see what he can do. But, at the moment, the only reason I can think of that he would do this is that he's not physically ready to make that happen.
And that's exactly what I'm thinking as well. He just needs a little bit more time to try to get healthy and get back up to speed. And he obviously doesn't want to push it too fast, too soon. And obviously, every NFL team knows that. They know that he has the injury, so I don't think that, they would have expected him to try to do something like that any quicker than he could. I was just surprised that, okay, like right now, combine, everybody gets that. I would have thought maybe closer to pro day, whenever that happens to be. When we don't even know exactly when that's going to be yet. You would have thought,
I bet you he knows.
Maybe
that's
by
why he's already announced.
That's right. But I mean, he still has. It's been what, like roughly 4 months since the injury, and he's still got around 2 months until the draft. So, the fact that he's not going to do it on pro day, even though we don't have a specific date, we know typically the pro days are going to happen before the end of Notre Dame's spring. So like that's April 12th. So, I mean, he's going to be pushing it pretty good if he ends up having this private workout, just getting it in before the NFL draft. So,
yeah, it's going to be,
but just like you said, completely understandable because of the fact that he's got the injury.
Yeah. Yep.
Fill in the blank. It's blank that Pro Football Focus ranks Notre Dame right tackle Aamil Wagner as the number 5 returning tackle in all of college football.
It's fascinating because I think he's criminally underrated by Notre Dame fans. I think that this is going to surprise a lot of fans because he was, kind of thought of the big question mark going into this season, and yet he was the most, stable guy on that offensive line. Didn't get hurt, made it through the whole season. I think we talked about him the least of anybody. And when you're an offensive lineman, I think that's a good thing.
Yep.
So I think it's fascinating that he's getting a little bit of national attention now. And I think that's going to surprise a lot of Notre Dame fans. I really do.
I mean, and it just goes back to me on the fact that I think that this is probably the most under the radar, if not underrated guy, especially on offense, maybe on the entire Notre Dame football team from the 2024 season, because of what you were saying. Like,
absolutely.
you talk about offensive linemen when they're not doing well, and we never had to talk about Aamil Wagner at all last season. And, look, I was not completely sold that he could be the guy going into last season, just because, it's taken him a while to get there. We had never actually seen him do it. It was nothing, personal against him. It's just that it's like, wow, man, it's like, especially considering who you were replacing, Blake Fisher, obviously. But he played exceptionally well. He gave up just 2 sacks in 496 pass blocking snaps last season. And so it's really amazing when you think about it. Yeah, absolutely. And it's another reason, because now, I'm not saying everybody, but there are plenty of people who just want to say, well, Gerby Lambert is supposed to be great. And, you obviously have Jagasaw, so let's just throw Aamil Wagner out. I mean, this guy is going to contend for that spot. I don't think that, if there's anything Joe Rudolph has shown, he's not just going to rubber stamp a guy from one season to the next. Like, everything is up for grabs from 1 year to the next. But he's going to be a big part of the competition, for either the right side or the left side, wherever it ends up being. He's going to be, a big part of that mix.
And he's got to have a leg up. I'm sorry. Like after what he did last season, being in there every single game, doing it day in and day out. I just don't see how you throw the baby out with the bathwater on that one. You know what I mean? Like, you can't overlook what he's given this team already and what he can continue to give this team. I feel like if anybody has a solidified spot, he's got to be one of those guys. You know what I mean?
I think so.
Any kind of projection of an offensive line, he's in it for me. And I know that's not the case with a lot of people, but I think they're undervaluing what he can bring to the table and how good he can be.
Yep. And I think some of that, goes to, well, he, gave up this in the championship game or, whatever else. And it's like, a lot of guys didn't have their best game in the national championship.
Correct.
Game. And you're not just going to bench everybody who didn't have a great game in the national championship.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Look, there's a lot of talent on that offensive line, right? And I would never say that there shouldn't be competition. But I would also say he's got to, like, if it's even, the nod goes to him because of what he's shown in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
because it's not a default setting. Again,
correct.
he excelled, like, by the metrics. He's one of the top returning tackles in all of college football going into next season.
Wild.
Sly Fox, could Riley Leonard possibly be another Taysom Hill? I think Leonard I think he's a better passer.
He's a better passer.
Taysom Hill was.
Yes. He's an athlete. Yeah. Taysom Hill's an athlete, right? Leonard's an athlete.
Right.
That I see that comparison, but I completely agree with you. He's a better quarterback.
Yeah. And Taysom Hill, he's much closer to Drew Brees size than, Riley Leonard is a tall, drink of water. He's got some height that comes with him as well. He's a little bit closer, like to Josh Allen, height wise than, Drew Brees, who is a lot shorter. So I think that, and Taysom Hill is just such a unicorn anyway. There's really been nobody like that. And it's amazing that the guy has kept his job as long as he had in the NFL, considering, like, when you look at, like, actual production, they find different things for him, but in terms of actual, touches of the football on offense, he doesn't have that many over the course of his career, but the Saints keep bringing him back every year.
They do. They keep paying him. I mean, he's making a good living being this jack of all trades, master of none kind of a guy. You know what I mean? Like, more power to him. And again, we talked yesterday about Howard Cross, working out at fullback and, doing whatever you could do to make yourself, valuable and whatever. Great. I mean, that's obviously something that's going to work. So, kudos to him. But yeah, I think Riley Leonard could take on other roles. I don't know that that's what he would want to do. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm speculating, but I just feel like
if it keeps you if it keeps you getting paid in the NFL for a few years, he probably wouldn't mind too much. But I do think he wants to be a quarterback at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do too.
Going back to the offensive line, Stymie said, didn't they lose 60% of the starting O-line? I'd prefer some experience to start next year. Not, again, because of the injuries, you got to remember that
on paper,
Coogan was on the line because Strauth got hurt to begin with.
And Rocco, same thing.
Right.
Rocco Spindler. So, yes, on paper, they lost a bunch of starts because those guys left. First of all, I don't think it's 60%, but I feel like all 5 starters, whoever that ends up being, will have starts under their belt at some point or another, unless Gerby Lambert ends up starting. But other than that, everybody else really, I think is going to have starts.
Right. From not including Knapp, because that happened so late in the season, really you're only losing the starts that Coogan and Spindler had.
Right.
Like center and right guard. And again,
Ashton Craig has a ton of starts under his belt. I assume he's going to be back at center.
Coogan was only able to start at center because of the fact that Strauth got hurt when he did so early.
Right. So you're going to have Billy Strauth is back. Jagasaw is back. Craig is going to be back. Wagner's going to be back. That's 4 right there. And then who's going to be your 5th? You know what I mean? Is it a Gerby Lambert who doesn't have a bunch of starts under his belt? And then you move Jagasaw inside. Is Jagasaw going to be your left tackle? And then maybe Knapp is going to be an inside guy, or, maybe somebody that doesn't have a bunch of starts. So there's going to be a bunch of experience on that offensive line, in my opinion, when it's all said and done. But on paper, I think Stymie is correct because, Coogan and Spindler left. They're losing some starts. But remember, they left voluntarily. They didn't graduate out or anything like that. They left for a reason.
In big part because of what the numbers look like and what their opportunities were going to be next year.
Right. They left for a reason. So, yeah. But again, on paper, you're right. I just don't think it's as drastic as people think. I think this offensive line is going to shape up to be really, really good. And I think there's 2 to 3 different kind of configurations that you can have of the 5 starting offensive linemen, and you could still be Joe Moore Award, finalist type offensive line. You know what I mean? And that there's not a lot of programs that can say that. You know what I mean? And so I'm interested to see once they put the dice in the cup and shake them out and see what happens when they throw them out, kind of a Yahtzee moment to see what it looks like. But they're going to be good on the O-line.
Yahtzee. So more from the Combine this week. Former Notre Dame tight end Mitchell Evans said current Irish tight end Eli Raridon will have a freaky year in 2025. What does that look like to you?
A freaky year? Man, that looks like, 750 yards receiving, 7 or 8 touchdowns. That's a freaky year. You know what I mean? Is it possible? Sure. He's more of a receiving guy than he is a blocker. He's not a bad blocker, but he's more of a receiver than he is a blocker, traditional tight end. So, is it possible? Sure. I worry, though, if, he's that high from a numbers standpoint, what is the production from everybody else? And if that's the case, I don't know how much success the offense is having. You know what I mean? So that's freaky. I don't need him to be freaky. You know what I mean? So I want to be clear on that. But yeah, that would be freaky for me. Those are the numbers.
The build that he's got is freaky enough. You would he's 6'7" and 250 pounds. He's got
big target.
He's got the kind of frame, he can do some Brock Bowers type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you could do a lot of different things with Brock Bowers or a Tyler Warren. And, I think he's probably got some explosiveness like that. But, again, because of that huge frame that he's got the ability to go up and do a lot of crazy things. So, if we're just talking numbers, you give him, anything close to what Michael Mayer had. I think to me, it's just like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of quantity. It's just like, I think that he could be a highlight reel type guy just because of the frame that he's got and because, and the skill set that he's got and the fact that he's going to have a younger, more inexperienced quarterback out there. And that typically, tends to bode pretty well, as I think you alluded to earlier this week. With a younger, less experienced quarterback, a pretty good tight end tends to be the beneficiary of a lot of targets, especially early on.
That's fair. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I just freaky makes me nervous. I'll say that. Freaky makes me nervous. He doesn't need to be freaky to be one of the better tight ends in the country either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like Jeremiah Love did freaky things.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
the freakiest. That's the freakiest guy I think that they've got on the offensive side of the ball. For a tight end, that's going to look a lot different. I don't think, maybe Eli Raridon does, because again, with the long stride and the, everything else, maybe he does hurdle a couple of guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
right. It's possible, I suppose.
I mean, it's kind of exciting to hear Evans talk about it that way. Coming out of that same room, he obviously saw a lot of him behind the scenes that we didn't even get to see.
It really is funny how many questions these guys are being asked about guys that are still on the team and position battles and all of that stuff. I'd be like, guys, I'm here at the NFL Combine. Why don't you ask me some questions about me and my future? Like
exactly.
That's some of the questions, and I know who's asking them, but it's like, guys, they're not going to throw anybody under the bus on their team. So what kind of soundbite are you looking for here?
Right.
Anyway, sorry, that's my.
Did Jack Kaiser have to go to the Combine to answer questions about how great Marcus Freeman is? I mean,
right.
He'd been here for 3 years playing for 4 years, basically playing for Freeman,
and how great Al Golden was. I mean,
yeah.
And what's he going to say? Because Al Golden is now in a position to draft him. So he's like, well, he was
didn't really
great.
like him.
Yeah. It's like, what do you think he's going to say?
Not like the defense was a little scheme heavy. I don't know if we needed to blitz as much as we did.
Right. And then asking Riley Leonard and Bo Collins who they think is going to win the quarterback battle. They don't care. I'll be honest with you. Like, they care, but they don't care. Right. Whatever.
Fill in the blank. Jadarian Price has signed an NIL deal with jeweler Johnny Dang, and that is blank.
I don't know who Johnny Dang is.
I did not know who he was until I saw this either. I had no idea. But apparently he's like custom grills and jewelry. He's big in the hip hop scene. Apparently.
Okay, fair enough. So he's going to be making some coin, is what that means. And
yes,
you're going to be watching out for some ice on Jadarian Price when he's coming out for press conferences and whatnot. So good for him. I think that's what NIL is supposed to be. I'll be honest with you. I think he's established himself on the field. He has established himself as a good player on this team, and now he's reaping the rewards of it. That's NIL. Good for you, my friend. That's awesome. I will say, I really hope he doesn't walk out with like a grill. I'm just not a fan of the grills. That's not my thing.
No, I'm not either. Let me see.
You want to get a big old 24 or something, or like a big old shamrock. I think that'd be pretty cool. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
But
there's Johnny Dang. See that bling he's holding up there?
Yeah, I do.
It's not going to blow it up. It looks like it's actually making it smaller.
I was going to say, I think you made it smaller somehow.
See if I can go the other way.
Oh, there we go.
Anyway, yeah.
Godzilla? Is that what that says? Holy cow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty cool. I haven't heard of anybody else signing an NIL deal like this. So, big props to Jadarian Price. Getting the bling. Getting it blinged out.
Him.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say. I think this is a shrewd business move by this guy, because who are going to be his top who are the top people that buy from him, right? Probably the music industry and athletes.
Yeah.
And now he's got an inside this room where there's going to be people that are going to be purchasing with the Jadarian Price promo code to get themselves some ice there at Notre Dame. Like I think that could be very beneficial to this guy.
I think you're right. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame women's basketball's loss to Florida State last night is blank.
painful for the fans, but even more painful to the seeding process for Notre Dame. Like it was much more painful in that regard, but it was hard to watch. And there were some things that I saw that were just very atypical, in my opinion, of this team, and it bothered me a lot, to be honest with you.
A couple things have happened the last couple of games. We were talking, Karen Keys and I, Big Game Karen was there last night. We were talking about
I saw the back of her head on TV.
Did you?
And
we were talking about it on the broadcast last night. These last two games, what NC State, Florida State doesn't typically drive to the basket the way they did last night. NC State gave everybody a blueprint, drive to the basket. And that's, how they hit such a high percentage against Notre Dame. And that's how Florida State made their comeback. Notre Dame gets up by 15 points early in the second quarter, and it's looking like they're about to run Florida State out of the house. Brooke Wyckoff, the FSU head coach, calls timeout, and the next thing you know, they're just driving to the basket. I've never seen Notre Dame give up a lead like that before. It was just insane how quick it. So that's, you've got to figure, and that's, they've decided, like, don't let Hannah Hidalgo stand out there and play this, hand games and stuff like that, and try to take the ball away from you, drive on her, and you've seen, like, Notre Dame's guards have had a hard time stopping that, and not just their guards though. They've got to get a little help. They've got to get more presence in the paint to step up and cut off those drives as well. And they're not getting that right now either. So that's what these last two very guard-oriented, guard-heavy teams, which Notre Dame is as well, but these last two teams are built that way, and they have taken advantage of that. And then at the other end, when Notre Dame did get behind, it's like you can't score 6 points on one basket, and that's like what it felt like to me when when Hidalgo and Miles were coming up court at times. Like, they were trying to overcome the lead. When you're down by 8 or 10 points, they're trying to, overcome the lead or cut it in half, like in one basket. Where they did so well, where they've done so well all season, and where they did so well in the, in the first quarter when they built that 15-point lead, moving the basketball, being a little bit more patient, work for the open shot. They weren't doing, like, they were, again, like, they were within 10 points at worst. They got to within a point even. They just didn't do enough of that where they were, staying patient and not just playing ISO ball with one of the two stars out there. They needed to work for better shots, and they didn't do that.
They don't do well trailing. They panic a little bit offensively.
Yeah.
And
they definitely again, because, like, I didn't mean to cut you off, but, like,
you're good.
Like, that's what it looked like to me last night. Was like they just, like, they got behind a little bit after losing the game before, and they just started pressing right away and losing a little
offensively.
Bit of
they were pressing
right away
badly, and then defensively they just weren't moving their feet. Like, and there was no help side. You preach that to, like, 8-year-olds playing basketball. Help side defense and stay in front of your man, and that kind of stuff. And Notre Dame's best defender in Sonia Citron was getting taken off the dribble, like, time and time again. Like, Florida State just took the lead. Like, they when they were down 15, they just went and took it on the offensive side. Just, like you said, driving to the basket, high percentage shots, all of these different things. That one girl, Tolson, whatever her name, 21, the big tall girl,
Timpson,
she had the game of her life. Like,
she had a double before halftime.
I mean,
it ended up, I think it was 22 and 17 she ended up with.
She had a great game because she was getting rebounds and just putting it right back up strong. And then the guard just kept taking Sonia Citron specifically right off the dribble. And there was nobody stepping over to help, help side. And it was just a free lane to the basket, like, over and over. And it was really frustrating to watch. There's a lot of people, like, on the boards and everything that's saying that, Notre Dame got out coached in this game. I have a hard time pushing back on that to a degree. Now, I will say everything that they weren't doing well is fixable. All of it is fixable.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's not like they were just outclassed and out-talented, and all those kinds of things. Like, they just play a little bit better defense. They move their feet. They did the help side. And then offensively, like you said, they've done it a million times. Move the ball, get the open person for a nice shot, high percentage shots, all that kind of stuff.
That's the whole idea behind the whole pick your poison, like,
right.
Because who you choose to guard, how you choose to defend them, there's always going to be somebody open. But if all you're going to do is come up court and make either 0 passes or 1 pass and take a shot that's probably not the best shot, you're not going to have very much success. And like, the 4-on-1 break last night, I don't know if you were still watching at that point.
I watched the whole thing.
It's, I was not a great basketball player, but one thing I know from years of doing this and watching and being, involved in basketball, when you're the person pushing the ball up court and you're in the lane now, you're going to the basket. Once the defender commits to you, if you have a player to pass to, that's the time to pass. And like 4-on-1, there were ample options to pass out of that last night. It was just very head scratching. Yes.
The one person that had a really, really good game again, and thank God that they got her, was Leah King. I thought she had a very impressive game. She kind of allowed Notre Dame to stay in the game a few different times. You know what I mean? She made some really big clutch shots in that game.
And her range kind of came back last night too. And she hadn't had as much range in the last few games. She was hitting a lot of those jump shots, and for sure.
I was very impressed with how she played. She tried,
but I also felt like, they didn't I felt like Koval and the opportunities that she had came in and gave him some good stuff, and Carlin as well. And they both hit, again, even though their minutes are a little bit limited, they each hit some free throws in the fourth quarter that, again, at least allowed them to stay within striking distance, but they just unfortunately couldn't pass, push back. And look, it's not all Hidalgo's fault by any means, but she is in a shooting slump now.
Is. Yes, she is.
Over the last 5 games, she's only shooting 28% overall and 20% on 3-pointers. Before the last 4 games, she had not shot below 39% in any game this season. She's been 17%, 40%, 41%, 30%, 22% in the last 5 games. So that's
struggling. Yeah.
Again, it's like it felt even more last night, obviously, that she was just pushing, just pressuring herself too much to try to make something happen, when the better course was probably just be patient, let the game come to you. But the frustrations were starting to show out there.
Right. And she was pressing when she was getting frustrated, shots weren't falling. She was pressing. She was trying to drive to the basket, and put up some crazy shots that, to her credit, sometimes they go in, but in that moment, in that time of the game, when you need those possessions, those aren't really the shots that you want. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you're surrounded by other players. And then, of course,
you don't have to do it all when you've got that many good players around.
Yeah, 100%. And Maddie Westbell being in foul trouble was not great. I mean, they needed her on the floor.
It didn't
in
help
the fourth
at all.
quarter, and she wasn't able to be because she had 4 fouls. You know what I mean? That hurt them as well. So, look, all of these things are fixable. This is bad timing, obviously. I know we're going to talk about this, but seeding wise, it's not great.
We'll get to that.
They can help their cause, though, in the ACC tournament, though. They can help their cause, depending on how things go.
D-Rock Irish said 2 straight losses. Citron sitting there in both of them. He's talking about the press conferences. He says he thought another player should have been the other side of Ivy in the post-game press conference. Typically, she was the leading scorer. They typically, whoever the leading scorer is, they bring into the press conference. A lot of times it's a request by the media. I don't know exactly how they run that, because that's not something that I ever am able to go to. Although it sounds like I could have last night, because it sounds like there was a very, very long closed door meeting after the game, as you can understand, first with Niele Ivey and the players, and then with the coaching staff as well. It sounds like the press conference was pushed pretty far back, according to what Tom Noy was saying in his piece that he put up in the South Bend Tribune earlier today. So
gotcha.
And then Maris, when I was leaving, Maris Leofau, very close friend, of Sonia Citron.
Very close.
His family was there last night as well. And I don't know if they showed them on TV, but they were all wearing these custom Sonia Citron
1,000 points and
shirts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so after the game, the Leofows had brought all these gifts and like leis, because he's from Hawaii. They had brought leis, and so like the team is still inside, like in the locker room after the game forever. And then I'm packing up and I'm leaving. They still hadn't come out, but they had put all these gifts and stuff like that on the bench, on the chairs on the bench for all the seniors and I think some of the staff. So that was very, very nice gesture that they made. And that's obviously a long way to come for Mara's family as well. Must be pretty close friends.
Yeah. Yep.
He was actually at NC State.
Was he really?
Sunday as well?
Well, he showed up. Why not?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I didn't see any of the senior night stuff, because I was watching it on TV and I wasn't there. And when they showed Sonia get, kind of like in a flat, it was like a quick, they were showing kind of the seniors coming out with the parents and stuff like that. And they showed the people that were with Sonia, and I was like, they don't look like her. Now it makes sense.
Her family was there too, but they brought the whole Leofow family out there as well.
You could see the shirts, you know what I mean? And it was like, they don't look like her, but hey, whatever, cool, man. Like the family's there supporting. Like it just makes so much more sense now that you mentioned that. I didn't,
right. Yes, yeah. Joe, they are indeed dating. I think it's like this is the third season.
It's been a while,
maybe? Something like that. Yeah,
it's funny. There's a certain teenager in my house that has always had a crush on Sonia. Okay.
Oh.
And, they lost the last two games. He's like, she must be feeling pretty bad for herself right now. He goes, might be a good time for me to contact her. And I go, her boyfriend might have something to say about that. He goes, is she dating somebody? And so he like Googles it. He goes, oh, wow. He goes, maybe not. It was pretty funny.
Just so we're clear, D-Rock, he has been back for at least a month. He's been at most games, not just these last two. He's been at virtually every home game for at least a month, I think, if not even more. So he's been there. He's not bad luck. He's not a jinx or anything. It's just that these last two games happen to go the wrong way.
Yeah,
so the NCAA Women's Selection Committee released their second and final pre-tournament rankings last night before Notre Dame's loss to Florida State. The Irish were still the fourth of the number one seeds. The number one seeds in this order: UCLA, Texas, USC, Notre Dame, and then the number two seeds: South Carolina, UConn, LSU, NC State, the fourth number two seed. The three seeds: TCU, North Carolina, Duke, and Tennessee, and then the four seeds: Oklahoma, Kentucky, Kansas State, and Ohio State. So, I mean, they're kind of in a position right now, Vince. Again, this came out before the game last night. Now they've lost two in a row, and they're kind of in a position where like their chances to be a number one seed are starting to slip. I mean, they still have a really good resume in terms of the teams that they've beaten, and even the teams that have beaten them are all quad one losses. So like they're not, quote unquote bad losses.
Yeah, right.
They're at least because, like NC State obviously is one of them. Florida State is not in there, but I mean, they're in a position now that it's looking pretty much like they're probably going to have to win the ACC tournament if they're going to have any chance to still be a number one seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I think that's their shot right now. I think they're pretty solidly on the two line. I didn't think that they deserved to be the fourth number one seed going into last night, but they were. Okay, fine. But obviously they didn't help their cause last night either. And it's just too many times they just looked lost, and it didn't look good. And this is not the time of the year that you don't want to look good. You know what I mean? Like you can explain away the two losses that they had early in the season. Obviously, they were the number one ranked team in the country. After that, right? So people have forgotten about that. No big deal. Now they lose two in a row, and they just haven't looked good in those two in a row. Now You could even explain away to a degree the NC State game because of the environment. You know, it was on the road. I mean, that was an amazing environment.
Double overtime, close,
yeah,
competitive throughout the whole thing.
Absolutely. Like
which is why they were still considered in there for that number 4.
But they were
spot.
the number 4 1 seed going into that game, which I thought was hosiery. Like I didn't like that at all.
But again, they lost since then. So
totally. No. Now, okay. But like going into the NC
I'm talking
State
about
game,
they lost. They were the number 4 going into the NC State game.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. So like they lost that. And so that's
right.
But I mean, what's got to be frustrating is you've got wins over Texas and USC, who as of right now are right in front of you as number 1 seeds.
That was the hard part for me to swallow.
Yeah, you've also beaten UConn, who would be the second best number 2 seed.
Right.
You've lost to TCU, who would be the best of the 3 seeds, but then you've also beaten North Carolina and Duke, who are also projected as 3 seeds right now. So again, I mean, they've got some really quality wins.
Yes.
But it's just that everyone that has beaten them now, all 4 losses are teams, ranked behind them. And like in Florida State and Utah's case, 2 of those losses, they're not projected, to be within the top 4 seeds. So they would be traveling for the first couple rounds of the NCAA tournament.
Right. They've got an opportunity, obviously, with the ACC tournament, right? They could potentially run into NC State again. They could potentially run into Florida State again. I don't know what the bracket looks like. It's not official yet. Still got to play some games on Sunday. What is that going to look like? But they've got an opportunity. If they can go into the ACC tournament and look like the team that won 19 in a row, then they got a shot at getting back on that 1 line. I think they do. If they struggle, then maybe, then they probably deserve to be at the 2 line, to be perfectly honest with you. It's win or bust at this point. You've got to win this thing. And frankly, I think there has to be a little bit of style points involved. I really do. I'll say it. I think they have to make a little bit of a splash in the ACC tournament.
I think winning the whole thing is just the most important thing.
Just
I get what you're saying, but yeah, because again, like if you do that, because now you're going to be the 2 seed. So, and like you're probably going to have a rematch with NC State at some point, I guess is my, so like you're going to have a chance to avenge that,
want.
Just like last year. Yeah.
That's what you want, right? I mean, you want a rematch. You need to show people, hey, look, that was a fluke. We can beat them on a neutral floor. You know what I mean? Like,
because the other thing is Louisville on Sunday is not going to be a pushover because, and this is like Brooke Wyckoff is a good coach. But Jeff Walls, whether you like him or not, the Louisville head coach, he's been around for a long time. He's gone to Final Fours. He's coached the national championship game. Like, he's a pretty good coach too. And Louisville, they've only lost 1 game since losing to Notre Dame almost a month ago now, I think it is at this point. And you think that he's not going to watch the film of the last 2 games and try to do the exact same thing because Notre Dame, that was a close competitive game for the first half when they played in Louisville a few weeks ago. And Notre Dame was able to kind of get their game going in the second half and turned it into a little bit more lopsided game. But, you can just bet that Louisville is going to be coming downhill and driving on Notre Dame, just like Florida State and NC State have done the last couple games. D-Rock asks if they should slow it down a little bit. He says it's almost like run and gun mentality in almost every game. I mean, that's when they're at their best, is when they're running. What Neil Ivey wants to do is get defensive stops and with those guards, get out and run. Like where they struggle, like last night specifically, for whatever reason, again, a 4-on-1 break and you're not able to turn that into a basket, and a few other times, just some bad decisions in transition, led to turnovers or missed buckets as opposed to points. Like that's where they're best actually, is when they are running and gunning. Where they have struggled more is in the half court. Again, when you have to work for a shot and be a little bit more patient, more than just 1 or 2 passes and get something, and like I saw someone saying, well, Citron kind of had to take a back seat in the first half and she was more assertive in the second half. She just wasn't getting the touches in the first half, and she finally started getting the ball in her hand in the second half last night.
Look, we all know
That's
she
when
can
the
score.
points started coming. Yeah.
I mean, we all know she can score. She doesn't always have to. They needed her last night. There's no doubt about that. And they needed Leah Tu King to do what she did last night, which was good. But look, at the end of the day, if this team is going to be who we think they can be in the tournament, you know, Hannah Hidalgo needs to score too. And she just hasn't been. So she's in a little bit of a slump. So you got to figure that out.
Right. And there's that fine balance between trying to score too much and, you know, again, putting that pressure on yourself to do it and just letting it come to you. Let it come naturally.
Yeah.
Because again, that's what it felt like last night. Was like she just felt like every time she touched the ball, she had to try to win the game on one possession sometimes.
Right.
I hope our analysis was suitable because we kind of got the Bronx cheer from some guy in the Champions Lounge today about what excuses we were going to make for him and
really
like that after last night. Yeah,
didn't see that.
I don't feel like we've ever really made excuses. Have you?
No,
you know,
in fact, I think we were pretty darn critical, to be honest with you, about the way they played. So, look, they won 19 games in a row. I mean, why would we nitpick?
And most of them by double digits.
Correct.
Of them,
what do you want from us at that point? You know what I mean? Like, and then they lost a double overtime game on the road where they struggled at times. We think they should have won that game, but they didn't. We're not explaining it away, but at the same time, that's a tough environment, and they didn't handle it great with the loss. But then you know what? They didn't play well last night. Let's call a spade a spade, and we did. So yeah, I have no problem with that. We don't make excuses for anybody. I'm pretty critical, if you ask me. I was yelling at my TV down here in the basement. I can tell you that. Wasn't happy.
Frustrating night. You know, after like all the great things that we've seen from this team this season, it was very frustrating.
Very
again, especially you're up by 15 and like that, it's gone.
Right.
So the Las Vegas Aces and Dallas Wings from the WNBA, who together include former Notre Dame stars Arike Agumbawale, Jackie Young, and Jewel Lloyd, are going to play an exhibition game at Notre Dame May 2nd, scale of 1 to 10. How cool is that?
I think it's awesome. There's a lot of people in the area that have never been to a WNBA game, even though there's, you know, you can go down to Indy or you can go over to Chicago or whatever. I will include myself into that group. And therefore, May 2nd, I want to go. Like, I want to go check this out. Not only because I think it's really cool that they are doing this because, look, the WNBA knows where its bread is buttered. You know what I mean? And Notre Dame is sending really quality players to the WNBA, right? Really quality players. And so this is awesome that they are going to do an exhibition game at Notre Dame and allow them to kind of come back and soak it up. I really hope that the community turns out for this game. I think they will, because I think the women's basketball community, that follows Notre Dame, they're really, really good. I think they'll come out for it, especially in May where there's not a whole lot else going on, except for like college baseball and softball. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's really, really cool that they're doing this. It's off the charts for me.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. I mean, like you said, Notre Dame producing really quality players for the WNBA. Jackie Young and Joel Lloyd were both number 1 overall picks, in WNBA drafts. And,
there you go.
And Agumbawale was obviously pretty far up there as well. And I mean, you've got, Arike is the program's all-time leading scorer. Like how significant is that? Over 2,600 points. And, Lloyd was in 3 Final Fours, and obviously Young and Agumbawale won a national championship together and went right down to the wire the next year with a chance to repeat as national champ. So it's awesome to be able to bring him back. I'm just glad we finally get to talk about it, because I think I found out about this thing a month ago, and it's like, well, when are you going to announce it? And it kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. So it's finally here. But I did see, like speaking of turnout, they're giving season ticket holders like first priority in getting tickets to this game, and some of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So Notre Dame season ticket holders are going to get the first
awesome
crack at it. So that's pretty cool too.
Did they give away bobbleheads at last night's game? Do you know?
I don't remember. No, the only thing that I saw they were giving out is the students were getting the Olivia Miles replica like glasses things.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I believe Sunday there's going to be some bobbleheads given away, and I don't want to give
Really?
away who it might be. But I have an insider that is at Notre Dame on a daily basis, and the 3D printer has been working overtime. So just saying.
Very interesting.
I told said insider you might want to just hoist one for me, but we'll see.
Are you going to go? Did you get the invite for Sunday?
There's one extra ticket, and I think I got ousted by my daughter. So I think she'll probably end up being the co-pilot,
taking the back seat.
Yeah, which is it's what you do as a dad, right? So it's all good. It's all
got to
good.
sacrifice. You got to sacrifice.
Yep.
So I know you and Jesse talked about this Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford meetup in Montana story yesterday. I don't know if you heard this before I sent this to you. There was a media on media clash at a Starbucks in Indianapolis at the NFL Combine earlier this week. Jordan Schultz, he works for Fox Sports. He was the first one to report this week. The whole Brady Stafford meetup in Montana. So Ian Rappaport, who's the big NFL insider for NFL media, he downplayed the meeting as a chance encounter. And I know, that's kind of what you and Jesse were talking about. Was this really a chance encounter in Montana? So within the, I don't know exactly how long it took, but they're both at the same Starbucks. I think it might have been like in a hotel lobby or something like that, in Indy where the Starbucks was. Schultz confronts Rappaport at the Starbucks, and according to witnesses, Schultz gets in Rappaport's face and says, quote, "If you have anything to say it to me. Say it to my effing face. If this continues, we're going to have an effing problem." End quote. And of course, the effings were the actual expletives, not just effings. Cleaning it up here. So what do you think of this media on media drama at the Combine, Vince?
I feel like I'm back at my day job is what it feels like.
High school?
Yeah. Yes.
Because that's what it feels like to me. Like
girl drama is what it feels like. And I'll just say it because we talk about it all the time. It feels like girl drama. And I tell people, look, I would be unemployed if it wasn't for girl drama because that's the kind of crap I have to deal with on a daily basis. This is girl drama, man. Like, what is your problem? Like, why are you upset? Like,
this is a 35-year-old man, by the way. Jordan Schultz is he's roughly he's in his mid to late 30s.
Like,
and by the way, I didn't know this until I started searching for him. Apparently, his dad is the founder of Starbucks.
Okay,
so he was probably in the Starbucks. He was probably in the Starbucks with a gold card. He doesn't even have to pay to drink the Starbucks.
I saw that, and I didn't know if people were just being funny because of the same last name. But that makes it even better, by the way, that's the spot that was picked to confront him. But dude, you broke the story. Why are you upset? Because he downplayed your story? Like, I don't understand.
What difference does it make? I mean, this is basically Twitter beef, right? Like, you're mad because of something that this guy tweeted,
I don't get it, Sean. I really don't. I really don't understand why he's upset. I don't either. Because again, like you said, girl drama, high school drama, that's what it feels like to me. You subtweeted about some dude, and then the dude, now you're gonna go up, say it to my face, bro. Yeah. It's like, come on, man. Come on. Everyone's supposed to be an adult here. Just take the W, because like you said, you broke the story. Who cares? Who cares what the other guy thinks of it? Yeah. Right. So he said it was a chance encounter. You said it was planned. Okay.
You're right.
Look, none of us think it was a chance encounter. Okay.
He didn't say it didn't happen, by the way.
Right. Yeah, good point. Yeah. This one blows my mind. It's like, dude, did you stay up too late drinking Starbucks and you're just wired this morning? Like, what's the problem here? Like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
If I was Ian Rappaport, I would be like, dude, what is the deal?
And I think that's what he did, because by all accounts, it sounds like he played it pretty calm, but then the guy was, went beyond that and was, basically, threatening to fight. And the Schultz guy, I guess, played college basketball. So he was a lot taller. So he's taller. So the picture I saw, he was towering over Rappaport,
And Rappaport's not a tall guy. I don't believe.
No.
But either way, man, like how juvenile can you be? I don't.
No.
I'm sorry, but
exactly. I mean, I'm on the shorter end of media, but most media, like I would say, the high percentage of media tends to be, on the little more vertically challenged side in general.
Yeah, the normal side of like humanity, you know what I mean? Because
that's right.
And we stand next to athletes all the time, so it makes us feel even smaller, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, it's oh my gosh. I would love to talk to this guy. Just be like, dude, what's the problem here?
Yeah.
I feel like I need to put my dean hat on and sit him down in my office and have a chat.
We got to get you a woman,
Yeah. Like, what's the real problem here? Like,
exactly.
What's really going on here?
Let's at the root of this. Let's sit down and dig a little bit deeper.
Right. Exactly.
So Ben Affleck has a sequel coming out this spring. The Accountant 2 is going to be released in late April. Have you seen the first Accountant?
I have, actually.
Did you enjoy it? Did you like it?
It was your typical, action, guy who's a spy who, meets up with a girl who doesn't realize he's a spy and they get into trouble. And, it's that kind of a movie. And it was on one of the streaming services. And I saw like a preview for it. It's got Anna Kendrick in it. I like her. Yeah. She's good. And, Ben Affleck, okay, I'll throw it in. So
J.K. Simmons, he's pretty popular,
so
famous anyway these days.
It was what you would expect is the best way that I can say it.
I always thought it was a pretty good movie. I'm surprised that it's taken, I think it's like 8 or 9 years
2016,
to make a
I looked it up.
sequel to it. Have you seen the trailer
for this one? I have not. Is Anna Kendrick still in it?
I don't think she is. There were no signs of Anna Kendrick. It was the two brothers kind of join forces and they kind of make it a little bit trying to splash in, some comedy with the drama action and all that kind of stuff. The J.K. Simmons, this is in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. And obviously the movie's not out yet, but the plot is the J.K. Simmons, the bald guy from the FBI that was kind of running the whole investigation in the first movie. He gets killed, but before he got killed, he had written on his arm, "Find the accountant." And so the FBI lady from the first one goes and finds Affleck. And then their mission now, is to find the people who killed J.K. Simmons. Basically. Okay.
So look, if it goes straight to streaming, I'll watch it. I probably would not buy a ticket for it.
I think I'd buy a ticket because there's so little. Okay. Like, I mean, I was thinking about this as well. The Academy Awards are Sunday.
Yes,
have
they
you
are.
Have you seen the list for like
it's funny. It's funny. The Today Show is always on in our house, in the morning while we're eating breakfast and all that. And they were talking about the Oscars and, they were like, oh, it's going to come down to this movie and this movie for Best Picture. And I looked at my wife and she looked at me. We're like, I have no idea what they're talking about. Like,
I'm going to guess Wicked is the only movie on the list that's nominated that you've seen. Maybe even heard of. Because I haven't seen any of them.
That's probably accurate. Yeah.
I looked through Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, all of them. I haven't seen any of the movies. Have you seen A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan?
No, we almost went and saw that when we were in New Orleans, actually, with kind of the extra night that we had. We almost went and did it, but dinner ran a little bit too long. And so we didn't have a chance to get over there and see it. But that was about as close as I got. I'm looking at the Best Picture nominees. First of all, why in God's name are there 10? That's way too many.
Well, they started doing that a few years back.
That is way too many.
It's right up here. Everyone gets a ribbon.
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's that's not okay. And no, I've never heard of any of them. Yeah. Never heard of any of them except for Wicked. Yeah. So there you go. I guess I'm not couth on all that stuff, but
I thought of another Gene Hackman film that I didn't think of last night because I didn't come in prepared to talk about Gene Hackman films last night. Have you ever seen No Way Out? Kevin Costner.
I have not. and
Highly recommend it.
You make it sound very intriguing based on just what I read in the script today.
Yes.
I'm
espionage,
in. Like, I'm in.
Espionage thriller, one of Kevin Costner's first big roles in 1987.
A young Costner.
Young Kevin Costner.
Okay.
Joe Allen, he agrees. Great movie. And there's a great, don't anybody blow it, great plot twist at the end as well. No Way Out. Highly recommend it.
Okay.
Yep. I will say Hackman is the bad guy. But I mean, as it turns out, it was kind of hard to, to not to figure out who wasn't the bad guy in that movie. Sort of the way it is. What's his name? Was it Will Yates? The guy that was the guy that was the defensive coordinator in Remember the Titans.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
He's in it as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think
trying to figure out if I can watch it. I'm looking. It's not looking good. Maybe Tubi, Tubi, Tubi.
Will Patton. Will Patton.
Might have to do, I was kind of looking to do tonight. I think I found it.
All right.
That's what I'm going to be doing. There it is.
Let's do it.
Friday night at the DeDarios. Let's watch a movie from 1987. Let's do this.
I don't know if it's one for kids of all ages.
Fair.
Not that there's a lot of, bad stuff, but at the beginning, there's just a little bit. So
killing bad stuff or
no, some skin, some skin in there.
Yeah. I got you.
Vince is we're all about killing in the DeDario.
Yeah, well,
yeah. I mean, there is some killing in the movie though too. So
at this point, with all the movies that are out there that have violence and stuff in it, kids are pretty immune to that kind of stuff. Now, the other stuff that you're referring to, we do try to keep that under wraps a little bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Sly Fox, yes, I did say No Way Out. 1987, Gene Hackman, Kevin Costner, Sean Young, the female lead, and then Will Patton, one of the co-stars as well. Highly recommend. Oldie but a goodie.
I'm in. I'm ready.
All right, well, that's going to do it for tonight. I hope everybody has a great weekend. We got a Notre Dame women's basketball game on Sunday. I'm thinking about maybe another women's basketball mailbag early next week.
Okay.
Don't know what's going to happen Sunday, so I don't know what kind of hornet's nest that could potentially stir up if we go that direction, but might be worthwhile. I don't know.
Let's just hope we're all in good moods after Sunday.
I know.
And then when is the selection show? Is it Sunday?
Selection show's not for a while.
It would be the following. It would be because there's the ACC tournament. Yeah. Okay.
Selection show. Hang on.
Yeah.
Again, I've got the date. I want to say around the 14th, maybe.
Okay.
I did a screenshot, so I have all these on hand. Selection Sunday is March 16th. Sunday the 16th.
Okay.
So
day
we've
before
got a while.
St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, ACC tournament, and then there's a week off.
That's weird.
Sunday.
Is it usually a week off?
It's always been like that because
is it okay?
Because the women's tournament comes first, and then the men's tournaments are that next week.
Gotcha.
And then the selection days are basically all within a day of each other. But they are doing selection Sunday and not Monday this year because they've done selection Mondays before as well.
So maybe put them back to back, maybe. Okay,
I think so. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because I think the women's selection start at 8:00 and the men's are at 6:00 or something like that. So
gotcha.
All right. Yes. Haha. Sly Fox. I see what you did. Hit the like button on the way out. There you go.
Okay.
Appreciate you as always. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday. IB Nation Sports Talk.